So following the massive defeat during the midterms, that was supposed to be a referendum on Trump and largely was, that's probably why Democrats soared to victory in many high-profile races. President Trump is feeling a bit down. In fact, apparently, now that you have the Democrats that are moving into the House, that are planning to launch a ton of investigations into his tax returns, and here you have Robert Mueller that's looming over the whole thing, who may actually start issuing indictments towards maybe even Donald Trump Jr. Here you've got President Trump. He's in a pretty bad mood. In fact, according to some inside staffers, Trump has now retreated into, quote, a cocoon of bitterness and resentment. Oh, that's great. Bitter man. I know. Whenever I hear that song now, I know it's Better Man, but what I hear is Bitter Man. And you know what? It is applicable in this situation. Now, behind the scenes, the president has lashed out at several aides, from junior press assistants to senior officials. One administration official said, quote, he's furious, and then says most staffers are just trying to avoid him. Pretty easy to do, since what Trump does mostly is sit in his office, talk on the phone, and eat cheeseburgers while watching Fox News. So there you go. Now, the official who spoke on condition of anonymity painted a picture of a brooding president trying to decide who to blame for Republicans' election losses, even as he publicly and implausibly continues to claim victory. Oh, that's so sad. So outside, he knows he's bullshitting. Like, oh, yeah, tremendous victory. Oh, we did fantastic. Great. And if it wouldn't be for those Democrats that are trying to steal Florida, everything would be great. But deep inside, he knows we just lost. We just got our asses handed to us. And it was after President Trump went out there and did rally after rally, got into, I should say, spoke to crowd after crowd in different places, stumped for different congressional candidates. A lot of them went down in flames. And so that's got to be pretty devastating. And according to a source outside the White House who has spoken recently with the president, last week's Wall Street Journal report confirming Trump's central role during the 2016 campaign in quietly arranging payoffs for two women alleging affairs with him seemed to put him in an even worse mood. So that got overshadowed a lot by the midterms, right? By the midterm elections and all the stuff that was going on during that time. And of course, that news basically got buried. But yeah, they know, and it's out there now, that Trump did arrange for those payoffs, and that could get him in some significant trouble. And of course, that revelation has got him in a terrible, terrible mood. As I said before, bitterness and resentment. Bitter man. Bitter man. Now, not only that, but they've noticed that he's kind of disappeared for the most part. They say that publicly Trump has been increasingly absent in recent days, except on Twitter, of course. He has canceled travel plans and dispatched cabinet officials and aides to events in his place, including sending Vice President Mike Pence to Asia for the annual summits there in November that past presidents nearly always attended. Not only that, but you also had Jordan King Abdullah II was in Washington on Tuesday and met with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, but not with the president. So here's, King Abdullah shows up in Washington, and President Trump's like, you go handle him. I'm going to go brood for a while and eat cheeseburgers. I'm going to cry into my Diet Coke. Sad, baby. Now, not only that, but you had Defense Secretary Jim Mattis announcing plans to travel on Wednesday, which is today, near the U.S.-Mexico border to visit with the troops. Now, those are the troops that President Trump ordered there to stop the caravan that is that is still several weeks away. Now, that whole thing was a basically pre-midterm stunt. And you notice that he doesn't talk about the caravan anymore. Fox News barely talks about the caravan anymore because they don't care. All it was is that it was a pre-election stunt. And so this could be his big, chance to go and visit and make a big spectacle of, oh, we're being so strong. Look at that. We're going to stop the immigrants. We're going to stop the caravan. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. Again, he wants to go brood and do his Diet Coke. Wonderful. Now, Trump had reportedly considered making that trip himself, but decided against it. Nor has he spoken to the caravan since the midterm elections. Now, not only that, but he's not even taking, he's not even doing any public appearances in the White House, nor does he have any scheduled activities. Apparently, on Monday, the White House called a lid, informing reporters that the president would not have any scheduled activities or appearances for the rest of the day. And look, that was just on Monday. On Tuesday, we didn't really hear a whole lot from that, from President Trump. And on Wednesday, I haven't heard much from him either. Just a few tweets here and there. And on Veterans Day, when it was expected that he was going to come out and try to appease his right-wing military base, he wasn't there either. He opted not to make the 2-mile trip to Arlington Cemetery to lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, which, of course, is sort of a tradition in Washington. And on Tuesday, the only public appearance by Trump was a short White House ceremony marking the start of the Hindu holiday Diwali, in which he made brief comments and left without responding to questions. And in France, of course, he skipped a bunch of events. In fact, you had Nicholas Byrne, that's the former U.S. ambassador to NATO under George W. Bush, saying, quote, not only did he barely show up, he didn't say anything that would help Americans understand the scale of the loss or the importance of avoiding another great war. Now, this is kind of what worries me, as a little bit of an aside. Him not talking about how we should avoid war and some of his past statements on, I hope we don't have a war under Obama, because, of course, that would get people under Obama to support him. Would he be above launching a war to help shore up people behind him? That's what scares me. I am very, very concerned about that, especially considering how we have really given the office of the president, the executive branch, too much power in being able to do, to launch attacks against other people, other countries. So that's scary stuff, man. And a president in this kind of dour mood, especially one as unstable as Donald Trump, you think he wouldn't? You think he wouldn't at least entertain the notion of launching an attack against someone else in order to boost his own popularity? Yeah, I don't know. That's super scary. Now, not only that, Burns also said he seemed physically and emotionally apart. It's such a striking difference between the enthusiasm he showed during the campaign and then going to Paris and sulking in his hotel room. Well, when he was in the campaign, of course, he was in a good mood because he was out doing the thing that he loved, being in front of the crowds that absolutely eat up everything that he says. The thing is that he's probably speaking to the same exact crowd, the same exact people. So, look, that is a bit problematic when it comes to bubbles, right? And the reason that I mention bubbles is because Trump lives in one. Trump lives in one, and so does his base. They don't live in the reality with the rest of us, where he is deeply, deeply unpopular to everyone who is not part of that right-wing pro-Trump Fox News crowd. And then when he realizes that, bursts his bubble. Oh, I'm not as popular as I thought. Oh, I didn't have that much of an impact. Oh no, this is bad. And so I don't know what's going to shake him out of that mood. Now, he did try to defend himself. On Tuesday, he tweeted, quote, By the way, when the helicopter couldn't fly to the first cemetery in France because of almost zero visibility, I suggested driving. Secret Service said no, too far from airport, and big Paris shut down. That's not true at all. Speech next day at American Cemetery in pouring rain. Little reported fake news. That wasn't pouring rain. Pictures of it show that it was very, very light rain. So there's more lying. There's lots and lots of lying here, just to try to make him look good. Now, let's talk about the Asia trip, right? So the Asia trip is actually really important as well. He sends Mike Pence. Now, the thing about that is, in Asian countries, if the leader doesn't show up, that is considered a huge affront because of course, the whole notion of saving face, right? The whole thing about face is, if you don't show up, you are showing them massive disrespect. Well, that's not going to go well, especially considering trade negotiations or, defensive issues, things like that. So if he's not showing up, well, he sends a pretty big message that he doesn't give a shit about any of that stuff. All he gives a shit is about himself and about sulking and crying into his cheeseburger. So that's what's going on in the White House right now. So what does that mean for things going forward? Well, I mean, look, expect him to find a scapegoat. This is a guy who can't actually take responsibility for his actions. This is somebody that always has to find someone to blame. So will it be John Kelly that takes the fall? Will it be Sarah Huckabee Sanders that takes the fall? Will it be any one of his other high prominent staffers that ends up basically feeling the brunt of this sour mood that the president's in? I don't know. I don't know who the next victim is going to be, but someone will be. Mark my words. It's going to take it out on somebody. And let's hope he doesn't take it out on the American people. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.